Hey, I'm Sapphire. Want to hear something scary?
Before we begin our next chapter, make sure you're subscribed to Snarled and have the bell turned on for notifications. Our next tale is about a girl who discovers a dark secret hiding behind her bedroom wall. It comes from the No Sleep subreddit by username The Dalek Emperor. We've always lived at 423 Stockholm Street, so there really wasn't ever a time that I didn't hear the creature. He'd been living in the room on the other side of my wall since I was born. When I was a very young child, I thought he was my friend. I would knock and he would bang back. I would giggle and he would mumble words to me that I couldn't understand. I thought he was there to protect me from my nightmares. But as I got older, I started to be afraid. Over time, I realized that he wasn't my friend at all. That's when the scratching, moaning, and sporadic banging began to scare me. When I was 8, I finally broke down and told my parents about the creature in my wall. I was terrified that he would come into my room one night and kill me. My mother rolled her eyes and told me it was mice. She never listened to me anyway. My father agreed with her that it was animals, but he hugged me and told me he would protect me and not to be scared. So from then on, whenever I'd hear the noises, I would scream for my father and he would come running into my room less than a minute later to see what the matter was. I would point at the wall and cower. My dad would smile, bang on the wall with his fist and say, "Quiet down in there or else." The noise would stop. I'd give my dad a teary smile and he would hug me. He was always my protector. I miss him so much now. One night when I was 16, I was awoken by an otherworldly, ear-splitting scream. It was so loud, so high, and so piercing that I screamed as well in terror. The scream ended abruptly, then a moment later, my dad came running in. "You heard it! How could you not hear it? You have to have heard it!" "Oh, sweetie." My dad sat at the end of my bed, his hair disheveled and a far-off look in his middle-of-the-night, bloodshot eyes. "Of course I heard it, but it was just an owl, I'm sure of it. We've been seeing a few in the neighborhood." "Oh, Dad, listen to the walls." "Lindsay, please, Dad." He sighed, but nodded, and we sat and listened for a while. I needed my dad to know the truth and to finally believe me. We were all in danger. But no more sounds came from the wall that night. I didn't hear him again after that. Not for a long time. When the creature did return, I didn't really notice at first. After 16 years, it was simply white noise to me. A background soundtrack as familiar to me as my own face. I think that's what sealed our fates in the end. The noises were just so inherent to me that I failed to understand how unusual they really were, and had been all along. When I finally did realize what I was hearing, I'm ashamed to say I felt almost relieved. The haunt progressed in the same cycle it had all my life. First the groans, then the banging, then light, lazy tapping, and then finally, the scratching. Always the scratching. I told my dad about the scratching and about how I thought the creature was trying to rip through the wall and into my room. My dad laughed and told me there were 3 inches of solid metal on the other side of my wall and that nothing could come through it. And he should know. He'd built the house himself. Since I was moving out in a year, I decided I had no choice but to just stick it out. After 16 years with him, what was 12 more months? I ignored the noises, even started to bang back. Whatever it was, if it could come through the wall, it would have done so years ago. The night the door was opened is the most vivid memory I have. I was at a friend's house when my mother called me and told me to come home immediately. This in itself was strange, as my mother barely even acknowledged me and never, ever called me. I drove the 5 miles back to my neighborhood, but I had a hard time getting in. I started to panic as I desperately weaved through all the media vans, police cars, and SWAT trucks. I had to park and walk the final 3 blocks to my house, tears rolling down my cheeks as I realized that my street was at the epicenter of it all. Because I knew. As soon as I saw my house, I realized it. My dad must be dead. It had finally gotten out and I had killed my dad. I took off at a dead run, then ignoring all the voices yelling at me to stop. I dodged in between the vehicles, pushing past dozens of people, ran through the crime scene tape and directly into my house. And there it was. Across from the living room, next to my bedroom, the hall closet stood with its door open. All the jackets and sweaters had been pulled out of it, and on the back wall I saw it. Another door. I stumbled into the closet, through the hidden door, and out into the room I'd always known was there. But it wasn't what I thought it'd be. The media called my dad the Skinner of Stockholm Street. And from what I saw in that room, it was a very fitting name. There were all sorts of knives, and there were metal devices stacked along one wall, at least 100 of them. There were 4 sets of manacles, a wall of chains, and rolls of duct tape. In the middle of the room, there was a flat table which was very clearly blood-soaked. But the worst of it was the wall. My wall. Every inch of it was covered in carvings. But the carvings weren't satanic or evil like I thought. Carvings were words. Jacob, I love you. Tell my father I forgive him. Sarah, I'm so sorry. Tell my daughters they were my world. According to the evidence file, there were over 60 of these messages, and I made myself read every single one. They haunt me every night. I had spent 10 years tormenting them, and they would now forever torment me. I live in a hospital now, and I can still hear the scratching. Every time I close my eyes, I hear it. I haven't really slept in a year. My doctor says if I don't sleep soon, I'll die. I spend my days watching news coverage of my father's trial, and I spend my nights staring at the walls. And though I try every night, I can never fall asleep. I always hear the scratching, and I always will. Like this video if it gave you the chills, and don't forget to subscribe to Snarled and our gaming channel, Slaytrix. Snarled and Slaytrix are partnered with Discord, a chat room that lets us talk to you, the audience, and play games with you. So on April 20th at 7 p.m. Pacific, we'll be having a game night where I and a few others will be playing a game with the audience and using the Discord to talk to you throughout the stream. The link to join is in the description below, along with our merch. If you dare, follow me on social media. Until next time, sweet dreams.